everyone, it's Matt here.
How's it going, everybody? This is your friend Will. Welcome back.
Welcome back to another episode of Savants Tech Talk. Quick pause right here. Are you a passionate software developer looking to hustle and advance your career in the tech industry? Then you should subscribe to this YouTube channel for all of the latest tips, insights, and advice in the tech industry.
So let's say you're a developer or an engineer, right? You finally got your first job, and you worked there for a couple of years. You began to get promoted. You became a senior developer. Then you became team lead. And where do you go from there? Today, we got the answer for you. And we're going to discuss in detail of how you can accelerate your career by going in that direction. So let's say you finally got your first job, right? As a junior developer, you worked there for a couple of years, worked really hard, and then you get promoted to become a senior developer, and then you get promoted to become a team lead. Where do you go from there? The answer is you can become an architect. Are you excited? I hope so. Anyways, today we're going to show you what are some of the tips that you can follow in order to become an architect. Hopefully this can provide some value or insights to you when it comes to the career movement, upward, not downward. Anyways, let's get started, Matthew.
The first thing you're going to want to do to become an architect is you're going to need to get as much experience as possible developing software. Not just developing software, but participating in every single stage of the software development process.
That's right. If you're a hands-on engineer and you're passionate about coding, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to move up in terms of your, being more impactful of the organization overall, you need to pay attention to every aspect of the product development. You need to pay attention to what are the standards that you strictly follow and what are the protocols and procedures that's established by your company. And then sort of understand every single process within the overall development cycle. How do you do development? How do you do QA? How do you do project management? How do you scope out the business requirements? Every single aspect. You may not need to actually work on it. Like if you're an engineer, you don't necessarily have to do like quality assurance from a user acceptance perspective. But you need to know how it works. You need to make sure you understand what are the things that are at stake, and how do you speed up the process? How do you design a smooth process? Usually you need to design with both infrastructure and project, business logic, process and logical flow, as well as the overall development practice, as well as the standards and use case scenario in mind. So it's absolutely critically important for you to be aware of every single component of the overall development.
Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to aim to learn several tech stacks. Not just learn them a bit, but you're going to want to learn several of them very well. And you're also going to want to learn about how they integrate with each other as well.
Right. As an architect, whether you are an enterprise architect or solutions architect, being able to design the overall product from end to end is very important, and it's a lot of the time what your entire job description is revolved around. So one of the big piece of that is to know what technical stack to choose and whether or not you should build versus buy in, right? Like there's a lot of existing solutions for the problems that you're trying to solve, chances are, and or at least a part of the problems that you're trying to solve. Should you purchase it or should you build it on your own? And it really varies from case to case, right? If you're a startup and you're trying to sell let's say a unique database, right, that can exceed the specs of the production grade MySQL database, that's your selling point, right? At a more affordable price point, you probably don't want to outsource that part. Like you probably don't want to purchase the license database product. That's a trivial example. but sometimes the answers might not be trivial. Let's say if you're considering using a CRM, and you can purchase the existing enterprise CRM by some company like Salesforce, right? At a very affordable price point. But however, it can add up as the amount of usage that you are accumulating. So as a cost optimization strategy, it may be worthwhile to invest in money to actually develop your own version of the CRM that only involve the modules that you need to use. And that can essentially cut down costs over time. So learn various technical stacks is critically important because you also the difference between engineer and architect is the breadth of knowledge. Usually engineers are really great at solving particular type of problems. They're very specialized, whereas an architect not only have that deep knowledge in some aspects, but also have a wide variety of like knowledge in different like verticals when it comes down to technology in general. So if you want to become an architect, keep that in mind and never stop learning and exploring and step out of your comfort zone and learn different new technical stacks.
And that leads into the next thing you're going to need. As Will said, it's all about the breadth of your knowledge. So you're going to want to study lots of courses, for example, on platforms like Udemy. And then you're going to want to get certifications such as the AWS Solutions Architect, either the Associate or Professional.
So nowadays, cloud computing is a critical piece of every single company's technical infrastructure stack, right? So having AWS Solution Architect certifications or GCP certifications or Azure certifications can definitely help you assert yourself as an experienced architect. And chances are a lot of the companies out there will actually put this as a job requirement. It's not just a nice to have, it's a must have for some of the enterprise companies because they want people to invest time and actually understand cloud computing. However, there are also a lot of general standards and certifications and practices that is commonly used within the industry. For instance, you may have heard of TOGAF. It stands for the Open Group Architecture Framework. It's a practice that's commonly used in various industry and sectors for enterprise architects, right? And there's also ITIL, which stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library. It's a detailed practice that allow you to align your technical objectives with business objectives. And having these certifications will definitely help you in a long way when it comes down to asserting yourself and advance your career to become an architect.
And of course, like any career path, it's always great to find a mentor. It's beneficial to find somebody who's in the position that you want, where they can teach you all of the secrets to the trade.
The best way to become an architect is to follow an architect. That's right. Whether you are working for enterprise or startups, it is critically important if you never actually worked as an architect to find yourself a mentor. For startup, because you're starting from scratch, you're not dealing with much of a legacy system, right? So you may as well just start from the best practices, right? Go to some of the meetup events, network with some of the other startup CTOs or other solution architects in the startup community. Learn and listen to what they talk about and understand what is the current best practice, what are the best options for solving your type of problems. Try to be friendly and find yourself a mentor that will help you understand the overall development cycle from the startup community. And if you're in the enterprise, it's even more important because big companies, legacy systems vary from company to company. Some financial institutions, let's say, would use IBM products, like legacy solutions, right? And some companies would say use Microsoft products, right? And in order for you to be able to adapt to those type of technical stacks. Some chances are, if you are a young technical professionals, you probably are not unfamiliar with the ins and outs of the legacy systems. And this is when you need to find a mentor to sort of explain you what each of those components is really involved. Like it's really like what part does each component plays in? Because the enterprise architecture in general can be very convoluted.
And lastly, you're going to want to get experience communicating with all of the different teams. Get as much experience as you can in this area, because you will need to be able to talk effectively with both the business teams and the development teams. And you also need to make sure that you can clearly define the requirements as much as possible.
That's right. If you are an architect, you're no longer just dealing with technical problems. You're also dealing with business problems. You're translating the business problems into technical problems oftentimes. So in order for you to do that well, you need to make sure that you communicate well with all the business analysts, all the business stakeholders, as well as the technologists within your company, all the engineers, all the QA analysts, the project manager, right? How do you play well with each other is very important in terms of your success as an architect. So right now, say if you're just a developer and you want to gain that type of experience, you may not be technically ready yet. However, you can practice your people skill and get yourself as ready as possible as an architect, or their business mind, have developed that business mindset as much as you can. So, for example, you need to get yourself out there, right? Like, say if you are a front-end developer, you're responsible for developing components and modules on the front end. There's a new QA person, right? Try to help him as much as you can in terms of understanding the overall workflow. Just be kind, be nice, and be friendly. And in return, he will probably work alongside of you and give you a lot of tips and insight in regards to quality assurance. Just overall, like, increase the effectiveness of your communication by communicating it, whether it's a nice fashion, or sometimes you need to be a little bit aggressive to get the message across, right? Know how to communicate effectively is critically important.
So there you have it. 5 tips to go from software engineer to architect. If you're a software engineer and you still have some questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. We are more than happy to answer your questions. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content.
Otherwise, stay safe and stay happy. See you guys next time.